So takedown defense, using a wall or a fence or a cage or whatever to keep yourself upright when it's permitted by the rules or whatever, as takedown defense. And of course, chokes as defense. Guillotine choke, not so much. But there are variations of the rear naked choke, the front naked choke, so on and so forth, that are very good to use, particularly against an aggressive wrestling opponent that tackles for the double leg. If you can get that arm around the neck, the main thing is, yes, you're choking them, you're depriving them of blood and oxygen towards their brain, and your long-term strategy, you're making them stupider and you're slowing them down and taking air away from their lungs and depriving their muscles of oxygen. It's a good thing to do to a strong opponent. But the other thing that is good is it lifts them up from the leg attacks to a higher up body clinch. And in catch as can wrestling, we also have things like neck cranks, grobbets, side neck cranks, so on and so forth. Nice things to do. Basically, we just call it cross-facing. My old coach, Mark Howes, used to say that in Team Jigoku. We just cross-face people, which is nasty and horrible. If we can't lift their head and neck up or slip an arm around the arteries around their neck, what we do instead is we put an arm across their face and twist them so that we can lift them up again into a wrestler's clinch, or just so it hurts them and fucks their neck up slightly. So, things to remember. If I get pushed up against a wall, main thing is I don't want my legs coming together, and I want to keep my groin covered. Keeping my groin covered is also why I stand sideways on. If I stand square on, it's inviting the kick to the dick. And if I kick from my rear leg, every time I swing that kick, my dick is exposed. So there's always a potential for the counter to the groin and straight up the middle. If I stand sideways on, it's no straight shot to my groin. I would rather get kicked in the ass and have my ass kicked than anywhere else. So things to consider. Also this, even just this. Good defense is against kicks. And if you see your opponent is gonna step and throw a kick, every time they step, you step in and stomp and counter them first, followed by hand trapping, followed by hand striking, clinching, takedown, ground and pound, finish with a submission. Some things that we will go over at later dates. So first of all, staying upright and avoiding the takedown. First of all, by keeping the legs long like a surfboard against balance. You see people charging in, you can just run away from it. Lunge and run and shuffle away sideways on so you can see how far they are away from you, not rely just on turning your back and running full force. Good way of escaping. So, other thing that you can do as well is low lead hand. Low lead hand means that you've still got your rear hand up for defense, you've got your lead shoulder for defense, and you're sideways on. It means that they only ever capture one leg or one arm at a time, so they shouldn't catch you in a double leg. You should only catch one leg. This other leg should be running away from the takedown, bang. And sometimes they get the takedown, bang, they get the leg. You can still step up and run away from them. So, things to consider, only one leg at a time, keep the other leg back. Low lead hand, which means when they shoot for your leg, you see it coming and you can go under their neck. You can't just straight arm and push people away. You can knee them in the head as you straight arm them and catch them into this. And also if they just charge at you at body height, you have this sort of crocodile catch sideways on with your hands. It also works well for catching a single leg takedown as they charge at you, so on and so forth. But the main thing is low lead hand means it swoops under their neck. If you've got two high hands, you've got a high guard, high lead hand, your opponent steps under your hand or steps under your guard, and it's more likely they'll get their takedown because it will be deeper and it will be under your guard. So, low lead hand, and there. We can use a wall to keep ourselves upright. Even better if we can hold on to the wall or grab the chain link fence, because that way if our legs get taken away or our balance is compromised, we can stay upright instead of getting grounded and pounded. basically how I survived one of my first fights in Glasgow, because the three Neds that set about me, although I clocked one in the face, the other one tackled me into a fence, and if he'd taken me down, all three of them would have stomped on me. Yeah. Luckily, the fence kept me upright. Illegal elbows to the back of the head and neck put him down, and the other guy didn't get involved. So, whoop-de-whoop. When we go up against the wall, spread the legs, turn the hips again, wary of the groin and cover, trying to go for 2 hands on one wrist, and being aware of the knees. And as we're being aware of the knees, we're trying to target the thighs, in between the thigh muscles, and do maximum damage by striking. And we can also switch and change as they try and grab a single leg or a double. The main thing is to keep yourself sideways and to keep your surfboard stance, and lower it and stand. Want to attack and go under the neck, work the 2 hands on one wrist, our usual foot sweeps, etc. Staying sideways, keeping the legs separate, so only one leg attack is possible at the same time. If the legs come together and they get a double and they connect their hands, there's a good chance you're going down. Right, so that being said, half guard, things to mime and to do that are important as we're doing it. To remember the sequence, it starts with the legs. So much like footwork starts with the legs, which then moves into your punches and your other strikes, starts with the legs and the grapevine. And the way to remember it is, whatever side you grab or capture your opponent's legs, it is outside leg to inside knee. So outside foot goes to inside knee to figure 4, and then that inside foot sneaks under your opponent's ankle. That's the grapevine. Now you could break it down further, like I said, into capture, figure 4, full grapevine around the ankle. But the first part of half guard is the grapevine. So commonly we tie right leg to right leg, and that's how the wraparound is. So it'll be the left foot that is the outside foot that comes in. Practice both sides though. So remember, when you land in any position and half guard, to try and land sideways, to cover your groin when you land, try and sit down and cover your groin, and also to cover the back of your head and neck. We want to land sideways on the shoulder and the hip. We don't want to land back and flat on our back and lungs and kidneys and chest, and on the back of the head and neck and spine. So, as we fall into half guard, it's also likely this will protect you against their knee landing on you when they come in. Here. So I go outside foot to inside knee, and I squeeze that. Squeeze nicely as we're here. Most of the time what you'll do is you'll land up in an overhook and an underhook. So we want double underhooks eventually, but first the half guard starts with the grapevine, outside foot, inside knee, squeeze, and then under the foot with the ankle is the full grapevine. That allows us to move our opponent about a lot. So from there, I need double underhooks. To get double underhooks if our opponent is tight on us, I'm going to use jaws of life. Much like I straight arm somebody in the clinch to push them off me in a takedown, I'm going to use jaws of life. I bring both hands in front of the person's jaw and I straighten them till I can get an elbow through, and a cable grip. Double underhooks. So from here I want to whip up to my right side because I've got his right leg, and that's the side we'll do. So as I move my grapevine and jumping jack and bring my knees to my chest, I bring my hands up and under his armpits to throw him forward, and I move to my right side as I do it. So I go whoop, whoop, to here onto the right side. So on my right side, likely if they don't hold my head, I come out the back and I attack the back. Or if I'm feeling nasty and it's danger zona, I vaporize leg lock them. Okay, we'll discuss that at a different date. Most people will hold your head and neck in a headlock, which is the predictable thing we use from the clinch as well. In this case, we hold the hip, or if we can get the back of the arm, the back of the elbow, we use that to roll them, but we go under the knee. So, I'm here, keep posts out for balance. I grab under the knee. I've got my grapevine. I've maybe got behind the elbow, or maybe the hip. And then from here, I lift and roll to there. So, if I bring Bob over to here, and we can watch the tape multiple times to see what's going on. Usually people will hold on to the head and neck with the headlock, so we can use this to skip to working for our arm bar. As we roll from this, we want to put our knee into their hip, our knee into their armpit, and we want to be heavy on top as we roll through. As I mentioned, most people will hold on to the headlock for dear life. Let them keep it and go from here over the top to their head and neck and throat, and start working your top pressure on their windpipe and on their arteries to slow them down, to dumb them down, and to take their airway and to take their cardio and their muscular endurance away. Let them hold on to the headlock, bring the arm up and over, grind with the forearm, the fingers and the elbow over the throat. They hold on, I'm here. Just being heavy, not forcing it, just being super heavy, making them breathe. So as that happens, they've probably linked their arms here. What I can do is, I can connect this hand to my other hand and do a push-up with my arms, but also lift my head and shoulders up this way to break the grip. Now as the grip breaks, we've got some options. One option would be to fall forwards onto the closest arm that you've just separated with your head and both hands, and then start working on that arm as a submission. We'll go over that some other time. The other thing you can do just as you break the grip is hold on to both arms, bring your elbow up to his belly button or groin, and from there swing to your side and bring a leg across his throat. We've got some options from here as well, into arm bars and also other locks, etc. But main thing to remember, besides ground and pound Israeli style from there, is sideways on, go through the steps and sequence of half guard, which is the grapevine, outside foot to inside knee, and then the inside foot goes under their ankle. That's your grapevine. Squeeze your legs, jackknife them, pull them off and move them around. You move their leg that you're holding, you move their whole body. You need double underhooks. So for the double underhooks, I bring both hands in front of their face and push up with the jaws of life, like I'm straight arming an opponent away. I get my elbows in the gap, I cable grip with my thumbs and my fingers on the same side, and now I've got my double underhooks in the middle of his spine. I'm also underneath him to the side in the middle of his chest, so him striking me is much harder for him in the first place anyway now, which is why half guard is so good for MMA and security and street. So, final thing is, now you've got your jaws of life, you've got your double underhooks and your grapevine, you're going to lift him up with your arms and with your knees and legs, bringing them to your chest so that you can get over onto your right side in this example. As you move over to your right side, most people will hold your head and neck in a headlock. That being the case, we grab their hip, or maybe behind their elbow if they've left it out there and not T-Rex their arm. We go under the knee and we plan B sweep them. Easy peasy. If they're dumb enough not to hold your head and neck as they try and straighten out and wrestle, you can go round their back and either vaporize them, cover that some other time, or the standard rear naked choke techniques from the back position. So that's half guard.